Watching closely with anticipation. Obviously, the Springboks named their team, and most definitely I'll be up in London at the end of October if they are successful in moving into the final. So I want to wish them all the very best, and wish their captain Jean de Villiers a injury-free run through the tournament up to the finals, and I'll be there with my green and gold on if they are successful.
I'm definitely going to be in front of my telly to make sure that I support the Boks. We've got a big function set up at the office to make sure that we as Equestria get behind the Boks and that we rally behind them. I think there's a lot of excitement in the office, and we want to be there for them.
My business partner is Farid Pierre's older brother, so we've followed the Springboks around for some years now, and it's been a privilege to watch them play.
Well, some comment there from chief executives and the great and the good on the Springbok team and the tournament itself. Of course, starting tonight, England abuzz with rugby fever. Now, to help us look at the tournament and the terrain that rugby's being played in. It's a big business and there are issues in it. Mthunzi Fudge Mabeta, he's a Sharks player, former Blue Bulls player, eligible to play for both South Africa and the USA, which is interesting. Evening to you. Is it Mthunzi or Fudge or both or either?
Both or either. Suit yourself.
When I saw your name, and I thought I'd seen you on TV playing for the Sharks, but I thought Fudge sounds like a short, fat prop in the front row. Yes. But you're not. You're a tall, lean lock.
Indeed. Yes, indeed. It was a joke that started at Queen's College, a place where I actually was inspired to play rugby. And a guy threw a piece of fudge at me in the corridor. I was a light, I think I was 8 years old. And we got into a little scramble, into a little fight, and the matric started calling me that, and here we are.
So that's where it came from, and it's been there ever since?
Ever since, so.
That's interesting. Queen's College in the Eastern Cape,
yes.
Dale College, the great rivals, of course. Those two great rugby schools, long tradition. In racial terms, they've transformed, and they are still great rugby nurseries. My sense is that people like you coming from them, that's fantastic. But not enough people who are coming through at school level are getting through to the senior level, are they?
No, there's a bit of a backlog with the underage, under 19, under 21 competitions. A very big competition in South Africa. The recruiting that the teams do, they have quite a big pool of players, and a lot of the players come from those schools. Queen's College and Dale College have been providing the players like Luto Nyeka, Vuyo Mhlobiso, Vincent Kwavu, a lot of players who played through these high schools in the Eastern Cape, and they did very well. They were part of, I know at the Bulls they won their age group competitions twice, under 19 and under 21, and some Vodacom Cup trophies as well. So they're very capable, but unfortunately the development then doesn't try to nurture them into the professional sphere, which would be the Super Rugby and the Currie Cup.
But what's the problem then? Everyone wants players to come through. Everyone says they want them to come through. Why aren't they?
Well, I think you have to blame the structures of the unions. I don't think they do enough at handing the opportunities, sharing the opportunities in the best interest of the players. Unfortunately, because money is tight now in this country, in the rugby sphere, it's also they're under a lot of pressure to win. They need to win the competitions. So some teams will say they don't really have the space, to introduce new players. But the talent is there.
Yep.
And I think that's a problem. I think it needs to be done more often.
You obviously played for the Queen's first 15.
I moved around quite a bit. I was at Grey High School and I finished off playing at Pretoria Boys High School, the first team there.
Okay.
And
I often think when you play in a big first team game for a school, so Pretoria it would be Uffies.
Indeed, yes.
Did you play in that match?
I did.
I mean, is it possible that you'll never play in such an important match again in your life, even if you play for provinces and so on?
That's true. Camaraderie with some boys' schools, most boys' schools in South Africa, it's quite a very special thing. And the way they build it up, it's deep. It's about tradition. Just like the Currie Cup has these rivalries as well. Very big, very popular in South Africa, and it's special. I mean, you won't find that again.
How did you end up at the Sharks?
Paul Anthony was my first team coach at Boys High. When he heard I was recovered from my injury, he gave me a call up and said I should come give it a try. And I tried it out with them last year. I've stopped now. doing a few rural development projects now.
Do you mean you've stopped playing rugby?
I've stopped for now playing rugby, yes.
Do you mean you might go back to it?
I might go back to it, definitely.
Because you were qualified to play for the US and South Africa. How did that come about?
I was born in the States. My father was studying that side. He met my mother, and I was born that side. Came back when I was only 3 years old. So I played, most of my rugby this side. But America did get a hold of me for the 2011 World Cup.
Did you play in that World Cup?
No, I did not play in that World Cup. I decided to stay. Many people do. At that time, American rugby, America wasn't really on the map, I wouldn't say. Now they've done bounds and bounds of work, and they're on the map now, definitely. But back then there was still a chance I could have made the Springboks. And of course, if you play for America, you then are not eligible to play for the Springboks. So it was a decision I made just to try and keep the Springbok hope going, because it's a better investment in your career. I think the game, you make more money here than you would in America.
Talking about the money, I've got a couple of stats here from our research team. A senior Springbok playing in Japan can make 8 million plus a year, 8 million rand plus. In Europe, 6 million rand plus, place like France or Italy. A senior Springbok in South Africa makes about 4 million rand plus. I mean, if you're looking at your future and you want to get some money now, it's a no-brainer.
It is a no-brainer. A lot of good players. Brian Mujati is one of them. Went overseas. Ryan Cockett, as you know, now recently started playing for France. It's lucrative. I think the way they handled rugby, it was always in the interest of the players, performance-based for the game. The game, the television rights, I think are sold for a lot more there than they are here in South Africa. But it's a very tricky, very interesting world, that one. In South Africa, they're struggling quite a bit with funding.
But isn't it true that New Zealand prohibits their players from going overseas, or if they go overseas, they won't pick them for the All Blacks?
Yes.
They're trying to protect the provincial system and the rugby in the country. Now, New Zealand seems to be getting away with it. We don't seem to be able to do that.
In South Africa, it's a little bit more difficult because we've got such a deep depth here. We've got real depth in the quality of players. So you'll have a lot of players that aren't really getting the opportunities they would like, and they go overseas, and of course, because they're so talented, they excel. So it becomes a bit of a no-brainer at times as well. Instead of sitting on the bench, even though you're in the line for 2 years, you'd rather go take a year overseas, and then when you go and you're earning that much money, if it's comfortable, then of course, why not stay?
Yeah. Okay, let's wrap it up with talk about this tournament. They call it the World Cup, but really there are only 4 or 5 teams that have a chance there. You're just out of the system, as you've just said, but you've played with and against a lot of these guys who are there. Is our team, have we got what it takes to go the whole way this time?
I think we do. Man for man, I think we're looking very good. Unfortunately, we haven't seen the team perform as a team recently very well. It's going to be a lot of pressure, but the beautiful thing is at least we're coming in with a bit of an underdog sort of aura to us. That helps some teams. The pressure does get to you out there.
We're certainly not the favourites.
No, we're definitely not the favourites.
Yeah.
But we have a chance. We have a chance. We tackle well. Defense is a beautiful thing to watch in the World Cup, because even teams like Japan can step up.
There have been comments about the racial composition of the team. Not enough black players. Do you think this takes their mind just fractionally, and fractionally might be enough to mess up your performance off their game?
I think Heineke Meyer will manage that very well. He reminds me of a Roman emperor sort of a thing, where the soldiers will just follow him. And it's very important to get that aura in a World Cup competition setup. So I think he should handle that, but of course it's
still an issue.
It's still a little bit of an issue, and it would have been nice to see that not happening before they had to leave. And it's becoming a little bit of a cliche as well with South Africa in the World Cups.
Yeah.
But they were able to perform before.
Yep.
And I think they've got a shot to do it this time.
Are we going to win it?
I think so. New Zealand are the favourites, but they are known to choke.
Yep.
And they're looking like they could come in contact with France again.
We might get them before the final, which might be better than getting them in the final.
Definitely, I agree. Semi-final against New Zealand is going to be very tough. We'll have to see what the boys can do.
Great. That is Mthunzi Fudge Mabeta, Queen's College, Grey High, Pretoria Boys High Sharks, giving his view on rugby generally and the tournament. And thanks for coming in, especially to see us this evening. Good luck to the Sharks against the Lions. Of course, I'm a Shark. My producer is a Lions supporter. So go Mufasa.